For our next story, let's go back in history. The year was 1987. Donald Trump landed in Moscow. It was his first trip to Russia. Later, he wrote about it in his book. Trump called it an extraordinary experience. He stayed in top-tier hotels, he was wined and dined by Soviet officials, and he toured for sites to build a hotel. Not much came out of the trip, though, but Trump flew back to the US energized. Suddenly, politics was on his mind. He tried to run for president that same year, in 1987. He pushed for a Republican nomination, but he failed. The question here is, what exactly happened on this trip? What made Donald Trump turn to politics? And this question has been around for years. Now, an ex-Soviet officer says that he has the answer. His name is Alnur Musayev. He says the KGB recruited Donald Trump in 1987 during the same trip. The KGB, as you would know, was the Soviet Union's main spy agency. And Musayev says they cultivated Donald Trump. They also gave him a code name, Krasnov. That's what he claims. And that's what all of this is, just claims without proof. So take it with a sack of salt. Having said that, such claims have been circulating for a while, including questions like, is Donald Trump a Russian agent? Is he an asset? Is that why he's aligning with Russia? Interestingly, Trump's Russia connection is older than this, older than his visit in 1987. It actually began in 1977. That's when Donald Trump married Ivana Zelnikova. She was a Czech model. And that put him on the Russian radar. Cold War archives show that Donald Trump was being spied upon. A decade later, he landed in Russia. Several KGB operatives met him. They showed him around. There's even a famous photo from this trip. It shows Trump and his wife posing in St. Petersburg. And this was not just sightseeing. Trump had a goal. He wanted to build a hotel in Moscow. And not just any hotel, a joint venture with the Kremlin. That's what he wanted. The deal did not work out, though. But reports suggest that Soviet officials flattered Trump. They apparently had an idea for him, that he should run for president. As history shows, that idea did not fade away. Trump returned to the US and took out full-page ads in major newspapers. Do you know what the ads were about? It was basically an open letter to Americans, a letter that suggested that the US should stop defending other countries, especially those who can pay for their own defense. Does it ring a bell? It should, because now he has turned it into American policy. But back then, the ad was quite controversial. It was seen as a jab at the then US President Ronald Reagan. Then by the year 2003, Trump was in deep financial trouble. His companies filed for bankruptcy. But within 2 years, things started looking better. Trump was back in business. Reports suggest it was because of Russian money. Investments flowing in from Moscow. In fact, in 2008, his eldest son even confirmed it. He said, and I quote, "Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets." In 2013, Donald Trump spent 36 hours in Moscow. He wanted a meeting with the Russian president, but Vladimir Putin declined. That did not deter Trump. He still wanted a Trump Tower in Moscow, and he kept pushing for it until 2016. At the same time when he was running for president in 2016. He won that election, and Russia was accused of meddling in it, of trying to tip the scales in Trump's favor. Then a new dossier came out, raising further suspicions. It was called the Christopher Steele dossier. It detailed alleged connections between Trump and Russia. This dossier was later discredited, but an inquiry was launched nonetheless, an investigation led by a man called Robert Mueller. It focused on the charges of collusion between Trump's campaign and Russia. That's what they investigated. The Mueller report did not find a smoking gun, no proof of collusion. But it did not exonerate Donald Trump either. Now, irrespective of all of this, Trump continued to have an almost public romance with Vladimir Putin. He openly praises the Russian president. He often sides with him. In fact, look at the recent peace talks on Ukraine. Trump is pushing for concessions that align with Russia's demands. Now, to be fair, none of this proves that Trump is a Russian agent. He's more likely just enamored with Putin, as he is with most strongmen, including Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un. Plus, he's not the only US president to be pally with Putin. George W. Bush had quite the relationship with the Russian president. He drove Putin around. He danced with him on stage. He even claimed that he saw Putin's soul. So what is the verdict? Is Trump a Russian spy or just a Russian sympathizer? You see, he's the opposite of subtle. He wears his loyalty on his sleeve, not the typical traits of an asset. Curiously, Russia seems to have had a strange, almost magnetic pull on Trump for decades. Maybe it was the flattery, maybe it was the promise of a deal that never quite materialized, or maybe Trump was never really playing the game. He was being played.